certain that's not the case. It is. I'm not going to. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I do know it's a Monday, but we are so excited to have you here today. And again, good morning, One Troy. We are so excited to welcome you back in person to our citywide Martin Luther King Jr. celebration and day of service. All right. I am Rich Macheski and honored to serve as the superintendent of the Troy School District.
And I'm Ethan Baker, the mayor of the city of Troy. And as you know, this event is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together as a community and to honor and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
We have a fantastic program for you this morning, featuring our students and staff and keynote speaker, Roop Raj. Let's give Roop a hand for being out here this morning. Roop is a proud graduate of Troy High and the Troy School District, and, as you all are fully aware, Fox 2 News anchor and reporter. So again, thanks for being here, Roop.
First, however, we want to take a moment to thank some local businesses and organizations who have sponsored today. Please join me in a round of applause for the companies you see on the screens behind us momentarily. Their donations make this day and the service we are about to do together possible. I also want to acknowledge some of our Troy City Council members who are here with us this morning. We've got Mayor Pro Tem Rebecca Chamberlain-Kranga, Councilwoman Edna Abraham, Councilwoman Ellen Hoderick, Councilwoman Teresa Brooks, Councilwoman Ann Erickson-Gall. And of course, you know our Director of Community Relations, our Community Affairs Director, Cindy Stewart. Cindy, where did you go? You're over there. And of course, Cindy's a big part of helping to organize today on behalf of the city.
We also have several trustees of our Board of Education in attendance here, as well as state representatives, Sharon McDonald, State Representative Tom Kuhn, and State Senator Michael Weber. I want to take a moment and acknowledge our board members that are in attendance today. We have 3 board members in attendance. Our president of our Board of Education, Mr. Carl Schmidt. Vice president of our board, Dr. Nicole Wilson. And trustee, Ms. Patel Ani. I also want to take a moment and thank Carrie Birmingham. Carrie is our communications director for the Troy School District, and along with her team for helping support today's activities. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the members of our Superintendent Student Advisory Board who planned and executed this entire event today. I want to take you back several years ago. This event was entirely, and this event goes over decades, this event was entirely, at least initially, developed by representatives from the city of Troy and the Troy School District. Over the course of many years, we've evolved, we've adjusted this program, and we unfortunately had to be away the last 2 years. In our absence, we challenged the students in the Troy School District, our Superintendent Student Advisory Board, to take complete control of this event with support from representatives from the city and the school district. So I want to again thank that group. You will see them in their pink shirts all around today. But again, I want a special shout out to those students for taking over control and preparing this event today.
We also want to thank you, our friends and neighbors, students and senior citizens, for coming out this morning. Because this day is really about bringing our community together. And I can vouch, City of Troy, we have great community members who always come together in times of need and always are ready to act for service. Today is a day to celebrate Dr. King's life and also to follow his lead by performing acts of service for others. I am proud to be part of this day, as always, and I'm proud to see so many of you coming together today to be part of something bigger than any one of us.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. Because everybody can serve.
Our country, this wonderful place, this little piece of real estate that we call America, was built, founded on service. We didn't necessarily wait for local, state, or the national government. We came together as a people, and we just did it.
I was one of 4 6-year-old children, girls, to integrate the public school system here in New Orleans in 1960. When I look at the Norman Rockwell painting and I see myself, I always say that the lesson I took away was a lesson that Dr. King tried to teach all of us, and that was that we should never look at a person and judge them by the color of their skin. I crossed a picket line, a mob every day for a whole year. There was a woman there to greet me. She did everything she could to make my day fun. She not only taught me, but she read stories to me. We played games. I knew that if I got past the mob and inside of the building, I was going to have a great day. And it was because of her. So she showed me her heart. And I began to realize that there was no way she was like the people outside. I couldn't judge her the same way. And so I believe at that moment, I learned the lesson that Dr. King died trying to teach us.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a man of service, and his day and federal holiday should be a day of service.
My father said an individual has not started to live until he or she can rise above the narrow confines of his or her individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of humanity. He would certainly applaud the fact that our nation has set aside a day where we can become more other-centered rather than self-centered and really focus on the broader concerns of humanity, because that's really the person that he was and the way that he lived. Nothing's insignificant. As you're celebrating the King Day, remember you are important, you're significant, and you have something that you can offer to make humanity a better place.
As Dr. King famously said, the time is always right to do what's right. It's a message that resonates with us as we gather here, and it's a message that many of our students took the time to reflect on in their artwork, photography, essays, poetry, and videos. Today, we want to acknowledge the winners of our student contests who took that quote and used it to inspire them to do what's right about an issue they feel is important in the world around them.
Students, if you're here, you're welcome to come to the stage when we call your name to receive your prize. In the category of artwork and photography, our winners are Yashvi Kadala from Loss Elementary School, K.D. Spada from Baker Middle School, and Amolika Srivastava from Troy High School.
In the category of poetry, our winners are Safia Ashraf from Wass Elementary, Kang Lee from Larson Middle School, and Sharad Bhatt from Athens High School. If you're in the audience, please come forward.
essay, our winners are Yuvan Karthik Kadala from Wass Elementary School, Sophia Mistretta from Larson Middle School, and Claire Tongtenko from Athens High School.
And finally, in the category of video, our winning entry came from a team from Larson Middle School. Ursa Fiola, Kiana Thomas, and Kate McFarland. Now's the time.
Congratulations to all our winners and their families. You can see all the winning artwork, video, and read the winning entries on the Troy School District website. These students demonstrated what Dr. King preached, that we can all make a difference through acts big and small.
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one, in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have as a basic principle the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by signs that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of duty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a Christmas staff. We must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving.
At this time, I'd like you to join us in welcoming to the stage our Supervisor for Educational Equity, Inclusion, and Community Relations, Ms. Chantel Yancey.
Keep moving forward and embrace your purpose, because we all have a calling. Good morning. Dr. King framed it best in the message we just experienced, and when he once expressed that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Some of us may have written the vision and acted upon it, and may be working on a new mission. Some of us may not be able to clearly see or name our calling and what that is now. Some of us may have already figured it out and are moving and walking in our purpose. While some of us may have yet to realize that a life's mission is inherently innate and deeply embedded within, but we all have a calling. Each person here today, whether you realize it or not, have committed yourself to embrace servant leadership as a part of your calling. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood and still stands as a pillar example of servant leadership and your existence on this earth. And your existence on this earth is an affirmation and a motivating factor to champion this work. So what does this look like? Well, this assignment encourages inclusivity and welcomes diversity of thoughts and being. It creates and cultivates relationships and communal productivity. It also creates a culture of trust and embodies a being of selflessness and fosters positive, productive, progressive change and leadership in ourselves and others. Again, I encourage you, every individual today, to embrace your calling as a servant leader. Not just in moments like this, where we are here to honor Dr. King and his legacy, but every day. Dr. King's legacy not only calls us to this important work, but others to join us in action as well. In the Troy community, we need to continually ask ourselves, what are we doing for others? Please direct your attention to the screen for a powerful message from the Troy School District's Black Student Union.
I'm a leader in my community by making sure everyone's voices are heard and given equal opportunities.
I enjoy giving back through participating in various volunteering opportunities, whether that be serving in soup kitchens in Detroit and local churches there, or through various school-led opportunities through clubs like NHS and Project Lead, which gives students like myself an opportunity to volunteer at the school in our area. And so it's volunteering is something that's very important to me. Helps better my community and gives me a sense of belonging and a sense of satisfaction that I'm doing something good for the world around me.
I'm a leader in my community by setting an example for my peers, standing up for myself and others, and being the best student that I can be.
I give back to my community by being a role model to the freshmen and by always making a space for other students.
I am the president of Troy Theater Ensemble here at Troy High. We do a lot of, of course, theater work, and part of my job as president is to make sure that we are all sticking together to put on a great show.
I have no doubt that together our voices can make a difference and that we can make this world an even better place for all of us.
Our students will lead the way. We are very pleased to be joined now by a former student, a Troy High grad, who has used his platform to bring people together to share stories of hope and community and change. Please join us in a warm One Troy welcome for Fox 2's news anchor and reporter, Roop Raj.
It is such a pleasure to be with all of you here today on this Dr. Martin Luther King Day, a day that we honor and celebrate the messages that we just heard behind you, not only from the words of Dr. King himself, but from those who are leaders here today in Troy. And I just want to thank all of you for having me, from the mayor to the superintendent to the principal, all the people who are here today, but mainly the students, because I had a message for you today that I hope you'll walk away with. And there's two main messages that I wanted you to walk away with today from me, while we learn from so many other messages from everybody else that has already come up here and will come up after me. You know, one of the things I want to teach you, if I can, if you'd allow me, is to build bridges, not barriers. That's one lesson. Build bridges, not barriers. And the second lesson is to seek understanding, not approval. I want you to listen to those words. Seek understanding, not approval. Because I'll tell you what, as an Indian guy who grew up in Troy, I spent way too much time seeking approval from people who look different than me instead of seeking understanding. And there's a huge difference between understanding and approval. Understanding is just saying, this is who I am, this is where I came from, this is where my parents came from, this is how we think, this is what we eat, this is how we move. That's understanding. Approval is this need to have other people approve of the way you do things. And if we kind of focus our energy away from that approval and focus it instead on understanding, perhaps we could build those bridges and not those barriers. And I think that's really what my message is going to be about today. But I'll take you back to a really, really dark time for me and for the whole country. It was 6 months after 9/11. I was 24 years old. I was a news anchor in Flint, Michigan. And as I was leaving Flint, I had a choice to go to New Orleans or Milwaukee to go do the news, to be a newscaster. And I have a television agent who says, look, you can either go to where they make the beer or where they sell the beer. And I chose New Orleans because to me it was a very interesting place. Having grown up in Troy, I thought, well, Milwaukee's culture may be very similar to a Michigan culture. New Orleans culture in Louisiana will be so different. And as a young 25-year-old, my father told me, we moved 10,000 miles away from India to a new land. You can move 1,000 miles. And so I did. And as I moved to New Orleans, the people were as warm as the weather. And boy, is it hot down there. The attitude's as spicy as the food. And yes, it is such an interesting place. But in the underbelly of Louisiana lies a truth that a lot of people don't want to talk about, that perhaps we have pieces of here in Michigan as well and across this country. Because democracy is messy. You add a bunch of people from different areas and you say, everyone get along, and yeah, you're going to run into some difficulties as we have here, as we have anywhere in this country. But in Louisiana, within the first 4 months of me being a television morning anchor, a kid from Troy, Michigan, advertisers, a couple of them, started pulling their advertising and threatening to pull advertising and say, we're not going to advertise with a guy 6 months after 9/11 with black hair and brown skin. Where the hell did this guy come from? Is he from the axis of evil? I had no idea that Troy, Michigan was part of the axis of evil. And it was such a shock and such a shock to the system that I called my agent up and I said, I can't believe this, but I'm 25 years old. I grew up in America. I'm an American. I grew up in Troy. I'm here in Southeast Louisiana. And these people are telling me that I don't look like them, and so I need to go back to where I came from, Troy. And so I quickly realized that this underbelly, this undercurrent of racism it existed. I had a choice. I could pack up my bags and leave, because I had an out in my contract that said I could leave if I wanted to within the first 8 months, or I could stick around. I stuck around in Southeast Louisiana for almost 7 years, and through that time, through not approval but understanding, taught my fellow Louisianians who I was while I learned who they were. It was not through building barriers or putting up my hand and saying, how dare you, but rather going to speaking engagements like this, speaking to high schools in Louisiana and teaching people who I was, while again, I learned who they were. And together we built that bridge that 7.5 years later and 24 hurricanes later, including Katrina, we went through a lot together, and because of that, I feel closer to the people of Louisiana, and I don't know who those advertisers are who decided to pull their advertising, but I pray that they perhaps found a place of understanding in their hearts that allowed them to understand that we are more similar than we are different. But in order for us to achieve those types of lessons, I think there's a couple of steps to get to that bridge instead of the barrier, to seek that understanding instead of approval. We have to have courageous conversations. And the courageous conversations that I had in the halls that were similar to here but down the road at Troy High School, go Colts, and Red Hawks, I guess. But the courageous conversations we had in this great city were awesome in the hallways of Troy High School. But I learned something when I left Troy High School and I went to Lansing and Flint to do the news. I learned that we have set ourselves up for success by going to Troy schools because of, look at this room, look at what we see around us. We see the world. We see people of all faiths, all colors, white, black, Indian, Asian, Middle Eastern, you name it. And it's here in Troy. I grew up at Troy High School where when I walked through the hallways, they had a flag representing every country for those who would come from other places, and it looked like the United Nations. But that sets you up for success. But it also sets you up for shock when you leave. And when you go to other places, it's not like this everywhere. And while that sets us up for success, we have to have courageous conversations in places where we don't look like we belong and where our ideas don't seem to fit. So when I even went to mid-Michigan from here, which is a very different place than Troy, and God bless the people of mid-Michigan, they're wonderful, hardworking, great people. I'm not judging anybody. I really am not, especially on this day. This is not the time or the place. But I'll tell you, people are not exposed to people who look different than them often. And so when you go to those areas and they say, what are you anyways? You ain't black, you ain't white, what is you? And you turn around and you say, I'm Indian, but I'm an American. And they kind of look at you with that look in their eyes, say, I'll be the judge of that. And I think that that look is an opportunity to build that understanding and not seek approval. To not go out of my way to prove to someone that I'm as American as they are. My parents came here with nothing in their pocket and built here in the city of Troy from an apartment to from a hotel to a apartment to a townhouse to a house. And I saw them build their wealth and build their rise here in America. And I'm so proud of that story that I don't seek anyone's approval as to whether or not I'm more or less American than anybody in this room or anywhere else in this country. I'm confident in that. I know that because my parents have proven that they've achieved the American dream. They came here with nothing. My mom still stands during the national anthem at home when it comes on the television. And my American friends who grew up in this country would make fun of her for doing that. That's how American she is. She didn't care. She still loves this country. The American flag doesn't belong to a political party. It doesn't belong in the back of a truck or a car to tell someone they're more American than you. It's a point of pride for all of us. Those colors belong to each and every one of us, not to one group. And so having a courageous conversation means actually building that bridge. And I got to tell you, sometimes when we get to a point of political correctness where we're afraid to ask questions, we're not building bridges anymore. We're building barriers. I had actually someone come up to me, no joke, just about a week ago, and said, hey, I don't want to insult you. I hope it's okay if I ask. I just wanted to know, is it okay? I'm so sorry. And they looked around and they whispered, are you Indian? And I thought to myself, what a shame that we are so afraid in this country, in this great country, to ask the question, what are you? And to say it with respect. This person had a lot of love and respect in their heart. People know when you come to them with good intentions. And I looked at him and I said, yes, I'm Indian American. And what about you? And he explained that his great-grandfather came from Serbia, and his mother's side was from Italy. And so I asked the same question back to him that he asked of me. So that's about seeking not approval, but understanding. It's about building the bridge, not a barrier. But if we're afraid to ask the question about what kind of foods, what kind of culture, what kind of religion, what kind of beliefs we have, if we're afraid to have those courageous conversations because we built a wall and a barrier of political correctness, then we have completely shattered a part of Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. We can't understand each other if we don't know each other. To sit next to each other in an auditorium is not enough alone. To have courageous conversations at work and in school that ask the courageous question about something that you wonder about, that is true understanding. That is a true bridge. And that, my friends, is how I've lived my life. And I continue to do so. My wife is from Southeast Louisiana. She didn't meet and know a lot of Indians growing up. But she was part of a group in New Orleans called Eracism. And they would meet every Wednesday when I met her, and they would seek understanding to figure out what part of them could still be perhaps somewhat racist. This is a white girl from Louisiana whose dad carried mail on the streets of New Orleans for 44 years, never met an Indian in his life, whose daughter grew up, went to University of New Orleans, got her master's in counseling, and this light-eyed, brown-haired girl and I met in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina. And we had courageous conversations together where she was really, truly wondering about my culture, and I truly wondered about hers. And in doing so, our love and our marriage developed. And 17 years after having met her, that love, that understanding still exists today. And we try to set out in the world to ask people to do the same. Not because it'll result in love or marriage, but maybe it'll just result and the understanding that we all should be looking for, and especially on this day, to stop being afraid to ask questions. Now, there are exceptions. There are exceptions because sometimes when people ask questions, they're not asking a question, they're making a statement. And we know when people are asking a question to make a statement or to truly ask a question. If someone starts asking a black American about why people protested in 2020, perhaps it's time for them to pick up a book or read some news. Maybe the person who you're asking the question of is a bit tired of having to answer the same question that has a political charge to it. Or perhaps you're asking the question not because you really have a question, but because you are making a statement. Ask yourself the question, am I asking because I truly want the answer, or am I asking because I'm trying to stick it to them? And there is a very nuanced difference between the two. But all I can ask of you is to perhaps try to have that courageous conversation on this wonderful day, on this day where we seek understanding of one another, a day where we seek to build bridges, not barriers. The way we do that is to seek understanding and not approval. I learned that lesson in the halls of Troy, and as a 46-year-old, I carry them with me today. And so I will tell you that it's very strange to be standing on this stage to wrap things up, because I just said 46 years old, and as I was sitting in this chair, and I'm just going to have some fun with you here, I thought to myself, I went to Athens High School for the summer to go take Parks and Rec classes of sorts. I don't remember what it was. And I think my parents were trying to get me out of the house and keep me busy. And I came to this very school, and it was, I go, well, it wasn't that long ago. It was probably 20 years ago in my head. No, it was 38 years ago that I walked through these halls and took the classes here. But these halls still mean so much to me. You mean so much to me, because when you come back to Troy, it's crossing that bridge of understanding and being in a place where you see the world. And for that, I'm so grateful to have grown up in. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for having me.
We ask that you let the words of Dr. King resonate and uphold his legacy through this call and response. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Please repeat after me. Move in love and not hate.
We will not build a peaceful world by following a negative path. Now please repeat after me. I will build a peaceful world by following a positive path.
Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a permanent attitude. Please repeat after me. Forgive for good measure, and unity and peace. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Please repeat after me. My voice is important, my voice matters for change.
The time is always right to do what is right. Please repeat after me. I will serve and lead with power and conviction. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that inspiring message. Now it's time for us all to begin our day of service together. On behalf of the Superintendent Student Advisory Board, we are so happy to see so many of you here today committed to making a positive impact. Now, before we begin, we want to give you some logistics and information about how the rest of the morning will go.
We have several service projects set up for you in both the main gym and the cafeteria. There are maps set up on posters when you leave the auditorium, and you can also follow us, those in the bright pink shirts. We are here to help.
You can do the service projects in any order you want. If one service project is too crowded, be sure to move on to the next one and come back to the crowded one later.
In the cafeteria, we will be having a Seedlings for Hope project that you can take home with you to enjoy. This project promotes sustainability and is good for our environment. Please do not take this project out of the cafeteria because you want to keep the dirt in the cafeteria and not associate with everything else. When you finish your project, and our SSAB leaders wearing the pink shirts and our NHS members and volunteers will be there to help you and show you where to leave it in the cafeteria. You can write your name on it and pick it up when you're on your way out of the event. We want to make sure that there's no dirt there, but thank you.
In the gym, we will be tying fleece blankets for hospital patients and veterans, assembling craft kits for people in assisted living, writing letters of thanks to our troops and healthcare workers, and painting kindness rocks to spread joy throughout our community. While walking in, you might have noticed us passing out these blue unity ribbons, and those ribbons are meant to be a symbol of the way that we have strength in numbers as we continue on Martin Luther King's legacy, and we stand together in support of our community.
When you finish painting a rock, SSAB leaders will show you where to set it to dry. They dry very quickly, and you can pick it up right before you leave. The point is to give it to someone who could use a kind word or leave it for someone to find in the community. Please make sure you never leave a rock on the grass where a lawnmower could get stuck. We suggest leaving them in flower beds or a common space where they will easily be found.
We also have two very important banners located on the wall to the right in the gym. Please take a moment to sign our 2023 MLK Day banner and leave or take a piece of advice from our Give One, Take One board. Maybe you can share some advice on how to make our world a better place, or maybe something that Dr. King did to inspire you.
And if you sign up to give blood, they are set up in the west deck above the gymnasium. There are signs showing the way, or you can ask anyone here in a pink shirt. Now we are so excited to share this day of service together. Please take your time exiting the auditorium. Now let's get to work together to spread Dr. King's legacy of making a positive impact.